So I've been playing guitar for a little over 20 years now, and in the past 2 decades, I've had periods of time where I've made a lot of progress in a very short span, and then massive plateaus where I haven't really improved for months or even years. And over the last 20 years, I have identified a few different things that have helped me sort of break out of those ruts and get better at guitar faster, no matter where I was in my journey. And I want to share those things with you in today's video. Some of these things I was taught by other players, some of them I sort of found out on my own, but regardless, these are all concrete things that I think will immediately help you to get good at guitar. Now, before we jump into the video though, I want to quickly plug my guitar courses. If you click the link in the description box down below, you can get 50% off of any one course. And there's a wide variety of courses that I've been making over the last 5 years that span different styles, subject matter, and are designed for players of all backgrounds, playing styles, and experience levels. So some of the concepts that we talk about in this video, I actually have courses dedicated to. So if you like something that I talk about today and you want to go deeper, you can check out one of those courses. And it's a great way to support my channel if you appreciate what I'm doing here. So thank you for checking out the courses. With all that out of the way, let's jump into the first point. So the first thing is something that I think you should stop doing if you currently are, and that is using guitar tablature. Now, let me explain myself before you start leaving angry comments down below. Guitar tab absolutely has value, and I don't think you should completely do away with it. I still reference it from time to time myself, but it's a very paint by numbers thing. And if you're only using guitar tab to learn solos or songs or chords or chord progressions, I really think you're holding yourself back, namely in developing your ear, which I think is the most important part of any musician's skill set. Having a good ear to be able to play what you hear is arguably the most important thing that we have as guitar players and musicians. So how do you break out of this? I think the first thing is to intentionally try and learn something just by listening to it. This is going to be pretty difficult at first, especially if you're not used to it, and that's okay. Maybe start simple. Something that's like a single note line. Don't worry about chords and chord progressions yet. Start with just single notes and go very, very slowly. Just start with one note at a time if you have to. The more you do this, the faster you're gonna get and the more complex things you're gonna start to hear and be able to transcribe. I don't think you should completely get rid of using guitar tab. In fact, we actually include guitar tab in the courses that I produce. I do think it has value. I just think in the process of learning a song or a solo, it should be your third or fourth option. Start with learning by ear and transcribing. If you can't get that, pull up a YouTube video of the guitar player themselves actually playing the thing that you're trying to learn and combine those two. And then at that point, if you're still struggling, maybe go look up a guitar tab to try and reinforce what you're learning. But to start with guitar tab, I think is pretty detrimental to your learning. The next thing is arguably one of the most powerful things on this list, and that is learning your notes on the fretboard. Now, I know this can seem daunting and like kind of a pain in the ass, but trust me when I say the sooner you do this, the better. Now, to do this, I actually use a technique called octave mapping. I made a whole video about octave mapping you can check out here or down in the description. But to walk through it quickly, we're gonna start by just learning our notes on the low E string, and we're gonna go in just 4 fret groups. So for example, E, F, F sharp, and G. Now I can take any of those notes and find the octave of that note and immediately start to double or triple the knowledge of the notes on the fingerboard. So for example, if I take this G, 3rd fret of the 6th string, and I find the next octave up, which is here, 5th fret of the 4th string, now I instantly know where another G is. And I find that just by walking up the major scale. But I can actually take it a step further by using that octave. So now just by learning where my root note G on the 6th string was and using the octaves, I've tripled the number of G notes that I know on the fingerboard. If you don't know your major scale, there's a quick hack to identify your octaves, which is basically 2 frets over, 2 strings down. So if I take this G here, I go 2 frets up and 2 strings down, and there's my next G. Now, this is a little different when we're trying to find octaves on the 2nd string, B. That's because B is tuned to a 3rd, where the rest of the strings are tuned to a 4th. What that means is if I'm looking for something on the 2nd string, all I have to do is go up 3 frets and down 2 strings instead of 2 frets. So for example, there's G, I go up 3 frets, down 2 strings, and there's G again. This next tip goes for all guitar players. It doesn't matter how long you've been playing, how experienced you are, what style of guitar you play. This is one of the most important things that you can do, which is learn and practice other styles, especially things that are outside of your comfort zone. So for example, if you're more of a blues guitarist or rock guitarist, have you tried fingerstyle or classical? Have you tried jazz? Have you tried shredding? Or even things that are a little more adjacent. If you are a blues or rock guitarist, have you practiced slide guitar? Probably should. You'd immediately find use for it in the type of music that you play. And then from that, have you practiced and learned other tunings like open tunings or alternate tunings? So as an example, one thing I'm currently working on is sort of the Travis picking walking bass line kind of thing. I'm terrible at it. For the last few weeks, anytime I pick up a guitar to just sit down and play, I've been practicing Deep River Blues by Doc Watson. See, obviously I am still struggling with it. That is a style that is really, really hard for me. But finding a challenge and finding something that's outside of my comfort zone has got me motivated to actually start practicing and playing again. Am I gonna go out and become like, a Tommy Emmanuel level fingerstyle guitar player? Absolutely not. But learning this stuff is going to creep into other parts of my playing that I do typically play and that I am good at, and it's going to benefit me in ways that I'm not even aware of yet. So step outside of your comfort zone and start learning stuff that you don't typically play. Now, next up is another absolutely fundamental thing, and that is learning your triads on the neck. Now, if you're more of a beginner and you don't understand triads, I actually have a whole course dedicated to it you can check out down below. But quickly, it's the idea of playing 3-note chords. Triangle has 3 sides, a triad has 3 notes. Now, you might already know some triads even if you're not aware that that's what they're called. For example, this chord. That's a C major triad because I'm taking the root note, the 3rd note, and the 5th note from the C major scale, putting them together, and that gives me C major. Now, if you're not aware, you can take this C major shape and play it in a number of different ways and positions on the fretboard, like those are just a few examples. You can expand on that even more by adding things like inversions. And if you're one of these people that already knows where your basic triads are on the neck, then you should absolutely start learning your inversions. Knowing your triads up and down the neck is one of the most important things for any guitar player, no matter their style or what they're looking to do, because it's such a foundational thing. You can use it to jump into so many more difficult concepts of theory and harmony and have something to relate back to. It's super important. And this last tip is another one that is for all guitar players, and that is to record yourself. Record yourself practicing. Record ideas as soon as they come up. Your smartphone and the Voice Memos app on it, I think, is one of the most important tools that any musician has, especially when it comes to practicing and learning where their deficiencies are. The recordings don't lie. There's this weird phenomenon that happens when you're playing guitar, especially if you're learning something, where you're kind of only halfway hearing what you're actually playing. I think so much of your brain is being devoted to the mechanics of actually learning and playing the new concept that it's hard to identify some of your deficiencies. You'll be amazed at how quickly you start to pick out things that need improvement when you listen back to something that you just recorded of yourself playing. And as part of this, I actually do believe that you should be writing on guitar. You should try being creative with your instrument, not just learning what other people have done, taking your favorite players' ideas and trying to do your own version of it. It's one of the most rewarding things you can do as a musician. And it doesn't have to be a whole thing. You don't have to have, a Pro Tools rig in a studio and turn it into a whole album. They can just live as voice memos on your phone. But there's something so valuable about recording something that you've written. And for me, it's the most rewarding part of being a guitar player. It's my favorite part of being a guitar player. Writing, recording, and producing stuff that I've written with my guitar. So those are some things that have helped me get good at guitar quickly, and I think they will do the same thing for you. Do you have any tips? Let me know in the comments section down below. And don't forget, you can get 50% off of any of my guitar courses via the link in the description box down below. If you liked today's video, let me know by subscribing, leaving a like and a comment down below. It really helps me out when you do that. And I appreciate you guys watching. My name is Rhett Shull, and I will catch you on the next one.